A warm welcome back to the home of champions karting Genk as the action continues for day one of the 2019 BNL karting series season. It's time to get back to racing action, and it's heat 2 in qualification for Junior Max groups B and C. Danny Van Dijk and Dan Ginchard are on the front row, along with Mike van Vught and Valentin Klus on row number 2, Jeff Michiels and Max Stemmerdink on row number 3. Mylan Coppens, Will Jenkins, Callum Boyson and Kai Gielets complete the top 10. That's the first 5 rows. Lucas Schoenmakers and Patrick Nolslock-Mellis round out row 6 ahead of Drake Janssen, Gianni Andrisani, Artem Mikhailov, Zen Rudenberg, Christian de Klein, Rasmus Andersson, Daniel Surankov, Flint Schöring, Lars Zenen, Jano Zopfi, Jaroslav Ziemaszka, Maurice Bechtel, Daniel Hunt and Rasmus Vendelbo rounding out the 26 strong. Again, for this second round of qualifying heats for Junior Max, it's groups B and C and will be contested over 7 minutes plus 1 additional lap here, as it is remaining dry, but there is still a lot of cloud cover, but it is still remaining dry at the moment. Local time has just gone 12:15 here, Central European time, so if you're in the UK, good morning. And we have 13 rows, a total of 26 Junior Max competitors set to get into battle. So the top 10 is Danny Van Dijk, Dan Ginchard, Mike van Vught, Valentin Klus, Jeff Michiels, Max Stemmerdink, Mylan Coppens, Will Jenkins, Callum Boyson and Kai Gielets rounding out the top 10. Now they're getting to the latter stages of the formation lap itself, as there's a straggler at the tail end of the field. The red lights are on the starting gantry for Junior Max qualifying heat number 2, groups B and C. The final one will be groups C and A at around about 1 this afternoon. So everyone is shipshape and in Bristol fashion in terms of the lineup. The 2x2 rolling start formation, customary with Rotax Racing, which we come to enjoy over the last 10 years. And season number 11 has already gotten off to a great start, because are the lights going out? No! Full start called. Full start called. Race control, not clearly happy with that one. So it's about resetting and getting back into formation. And full starts can sometimes be called either by people not sticking in the tram lines. They need to remain in them before the lights go out, and then they can go into battle. Until that point, the race director will give them the go or the no-go, as is duly required. That's normally shown by an amber light which flashes on the gantry just above the start-finish line here at Karting Genk. And now they have actually got into formation pretty quickly towards turn 7. So the top 10 again is Van Dijk, Ginchard on the front row, Van Vught, Klus on row 2, Michiels, Stemmerdink row 3, Coppens and Jenkins row 4, with Boyson and Gielets on row number 5. That is your top 10 as we get ready for take number 2 of the start of this second qualifying heat for Junior Maxes. The top 28 in terms of results in their 2 heats that they compete in will go towards their scores, and the automatically promoted top 28 will go into the final at about 4:15 this afternoon local time. They come through turns 10, now into turn 11. Good control from Danny Van Dijk and Daniel Ginchard on the front row, ready to go here at the home of champions. We will crown some, 8 of them in fact, in October this year, but it's about getting the campaign to a good start, and hopefully some of the drivers will be doing so. Mike van Vught has already shown that this morning, and there are still some competitors. It's still early days in the season as they head into the tram lines, ready to go. Red lights on the gantry, and we roar into life here, heading down into turn number 1 for the first time in this heat. 7 minutes plus additional lap. Good work by Danny Van Dijk to keep in there, but Dan Ginchard is muscled out slightly by Mike van Vught, who found space coming through turn 3. And we've already got one off, and that looks to be, couldn't quite catch the number out of my line of sight, but that driver is clearly not happy at all. As Danny Van Dijk has started swinging from the trees, I believe, and has got away from everybody. Dan Ginchard in 4th, it looks like, with Mike Van Vugt in 2nd position now. So Danny Van Dijk leads, Mike Van Vugt, and then Jeff Machiels in 2nd and 3rd. Then you've also got the 211 of Valentin Klus, looks to be in 5th behind Daniel Ginchard from the UK. The 203 of Lucas Schoenemakers has stormed up the field and is in the lower half of the top 10. And looks to be battling with the likes of Callum Voisin and Will Jenkins at this early time. So Schoenmakers up into 7th place behind Mylan Coppens from Belgium in the 244, who's currently occupying 6th position. Meanwhile, Danny Van Dijk is doing what Mike Van Vugt did in the latter stages of the first qualifying heat, but has got this happening a little bit earlier. However, there's still under 5.5 minutes, plus an additional lap to go, as Van Vugt is being pressured by Jeff Machiels. Don't forget, these two came to blows inadvertently coming through turn 9 on the first race at the kickoff. And I spoke with Mike a bit earlier on, and he said, well, yeah, I think he might have just turned into me. And good to hear it from a driver's perspective, but I'd like to hear the other side of that story, if I'm completely honest. As Machiels goes cleanly up the inside of Van Vugt to take 2nd position from the 201 from JJ Racing, a 3-time champion, no less, last season. But he knows it's going to be a taller order, as we interviewed him a bit earlier. And he said that he knows that he's got stern competition. But I know with the caliber that he has in his pocket, so to speak, he can provide great performances and also show what he is capable of. But meanwhile, it is still Danny Van Dijk. The gap was nearly 6/10 between him and Mike Van Vugt on the last tour before Jeff Machiels stole 2nd. But Machiels and Van Vugt are working together. Ginchard is there or thereabouts, probably about 5 or 6 kart lengths behind Van Vugt. The 211 of Valentin Klus from Germany still occupying 5th position, and is ahead of the 244 of Mylan Coppens from Belgium. Callum Voisin in 7th, Max Stemmerdink in 8th, Lucas Schoenemakers and Kai Gielerts round out the top 10 as we go towards the conclusion of, well, we're actually at the conclusion of the 3rd minute of racing. But look at the battle at the front. Van Dijk coming under pressure from both Jeff Machiels, who's pulling to the right-hand side of him and goes up the inside. Where did that come from, Mike Van Vugt? You absolutely stole that position like candy from a baby off of Danny Van Dijk. Van Dijk just got swamped and couldn't do anything about it. Now here comes Dan Ginchard from the UK in 4th position. 3.5 minutes or so to go, plus an additional lap. So it could be that Danny Van Dijk goes from the lead to 4th within half a lap. So the top 4 now starting to try and pull away. Well, Machiels and Van Vugt are trying to pull away as Van Vugt looks over his right shoulder and goes up and repays the favour into turn 2 as Ginchard overtakes Danny Van Dijk cleanly up the inside and asserts his dominance on the apex of turn number 3 there. Nice work from the 254 from the UK. Other drivers that have made incremental increases in terms of position, Mylan Coppens and Callum Voisin, have got past Valentin Klus from Germany, who drops to 7th ahead of Max Stemmerdink. Lucas Schoenmakers and Kai Gielerts still occupy the rest of the top 10. And the driver that unfortunately we lost on the very first lap was the Netherlands' very own Christian de Klein in the 299, whose car is forlorn on the inside on the grass, well away from the apex of turn number 3. Leaders now coming round towards the final corner. 2 minutes 20 plus an additional lap to go here in this second Junior Max qualifying heat. Van Vugt still ahead, but by only 0.13 of a second. Not even that, as Machiels hits the curbs with the 2 right wheels on the apex of turn number 2, trying to keep in touch with Van Vugt. So the gap between the top 3 at the moment is less than 0.6 of a second as Van Vugt takes a quick glance over his right shoulder to see where Jeff Machiels is. And it's not just about strategy, it's also about keeping it clean and keeping out of trouble as well at the same time. And Van Vugt is definitely making up for what happened last month at the kickoff, as he started his title defence with great prowess earlier on this morning. Fastest lap in the meantime has gone to Belgium's Milan Coppens on lap number 5. And he's set a 56.385, quicker than anybody else. But Mike Van Vrucht responds and puts in a 56.301 whilst trying to fend off Jeff Michiels from Belgium in the 2:57. So we're coming down into the final 60 seconds of this race, plus 1 additional lap. Van Vrucht still has the advantage at the minute. 2 kart lengths between him and Jeff Michiels as they break going into the right-hander at turn 7. Now into the right-hand sweeper at turn 8 before going into the left-hand hairpin at turn number 9. They're both keeping it very, very clean indeed, I must say. Ginchard trying to claw back into that gap between himself and Jeff Michiels, but it's not coming up in any way, shape or fashion at the minute. Milan Coppens, in the meantime, still sitting pretty in 4th, ahead of Danny Van Dijk from the Netherlands. Other changes, Rasmus Andersen now up into 17th position behind Flint Schuring from the Netherlands in the 2:16. As it will be... Oh, there's a clash, a little tap from Jeff Michiels on the back right, I think it was, of Mike Van Vrucht's 2:01 kart there, which unsettled Van Vrucht and put him sideways to about a 30-degree angle there. But nice control by Van Vrucht to keep it on the black stuff. So this is the penultimate lap of this race. Will Van Vrucht have a clean answer for Jeff Michiels as they come into turn 9 for the penultimate time? Meanwhile, behind them, Ginchard, Coppens and Van Dijk are pulling along with them. This is a top 5 scrap, and this is going to go down to the wire, I think. Behind them, there is a 3-karts battle, which is Voisin, Stemmerdink and Schoenemakers, I believe. So, 1 more lap to go. Jeff Michiels still leads by 2/10 on Mike Van Vrucht as... Oh, that's very good moves from Milan Coppens, who goes cleanly past Dan Ginchard, it seems, into turn number 2. Asserts his dominance on the apex of turn 3. Blocks off the Brit from trying to get past. Meanwhile, Danny Van Dijk is just probably loving the ringside seat he's got at the moment. But Ginchard has got the toe behind Milan Coppens and is going near enough front to rear bumper heading into turn number 7. But the 2 leaders are starting to get away a little bit. But could it be close but no cigar for Mike Van Vrucht from the Netherlands as they go down towards turn 10 for the final time? Van Vrucht is going to try and do something here as Ginchard sternly fends off Danny Van Dijk for 4th position. But round the final corner comes the 2 leaders in the form of Jeff Michiels from GKS Lemons Power in the 2:57. Is he going to fend off Van Vrucht? Yes, he does. And, oh, little cheeky tap from behind Mike Van Vrucht, I must say. Or did you forget where the brake pedal was? So Jeff Michiels punches the air. And that might have just been, I feel, a little bit of uncontrolled aggression there, maybe, from the 2:01. So it's tit for tat, as they say over in the UK. But Jeff Michiels takes the win in this particular encounter by 0.077 seconds ahead of Mike Van Vrucht. Milan Coppens did a great job of fending off both Danny Van Dijk, who actually finished ahead of Dan Ginchard when it was all said and done. So Ginchard rounds out the top 5. Max Stemmerdink finished in 6th position ahead of Callum Voisin, Lucas Schoenemakers and Kai Rielet, who all managed to get past Germany's Valentin Klus, who rounds out the top 10. Patrick Knowles-Lokmelis was ahead of Gianni Andrisani, who I think really didn't go anywhere. Finished in 12th position. Will Jenkins in 13th, ahead of Rasmus Vendelbo from Denmark. Then you had Artem Mikhailov and Rasmus Andersen rounding out the top 16 drivers, ahead of Flint Schuring, Jaroslav Shimashka, Lars Zanen, Daniel Surankov, Zen Rudenberg, Jano Zoffi, Drake Jansen, Daniel Hunt, with Maurice Bechtel being the last of the classified finishers, with an unfortunate Christian Decline just standing by his cart, waiting for the recovery truck to come along.